Hey, I've just read an article. I hope the sound quality is okay here. I'll try and speak as clearly as I can. I've just read an article via a site called Shanghaiist, which is basically a sort of freelance network covering stories in China. And I've just read this report about a case of bullying in Jiangxi, excuse me, Jiangxi. And I'll just read it out. It's not too long, so. Jiangxi schoolgirls gang up on fellow classmate and viciously beat her. Cell phone footage showing a group of Jiangxi middle school girls kicking and slapping one of their female classmates for nearly 5 minutes before stripping her of her clothes and forcing her to take photos with them has gone viral. In the video, a girl dressed in a blue denim overalls sobs as she is forced to kneel on the ground and endure the abuse of her classmates. Several girls took turns slapping and kicking the victim. Bully Girl had nowhere to hide, and despite her repeated pleas to stop, the girls continued beating her, seemingly enjoying themselves in the process. According to Jiangxi Education Department, the victim, surnamed Huang, had just graduated from Suyan Middle School in Yongxing County and was the president of the class. The girl who initiated the fight, and I don't like that term, but they say the fight, a fellow student named Lu, was apparently unsatisfied with Huang's management of the class. She sent Huang a message on QQ asking her to meet on the roof of a nearby building to resolve the conflict. The bullies in the footage have been identified and reported to the Yongxing Town Police Station. Suyuan Middle School teachers accompanied Huang to local hospital for a body check. Okay, this is very disturbing. I'll put a link, and I'll warn you the photos are a little bit unsettling. These little madams are obviously despicable cards. Um, feel very angry. I always feel angry when I read about cases like this, and it's not the first time I've read of something like this, either in China or in other countries around the world. I remember once reading something similar from Germany, and unfortunately, it happens all over the world. I've always taken a very hard line on bullying. I know there are people who think that, especially in the case of younger bullies, you can kind of negotiate with them and compromise with them. Oh, they're troubled. They've got family problems, so they're taking it out on someone else. No, just no. There is no excuses for what they do. What this comes down to is these girls are despicable little cards, and they need to be severely punished as a deterrent for them ever doing this again. They need to be punished to the point where they are frightened of the punishment. I'm not calling for the same thing to happen to them, but I am calling for, well, I'm not calling for, but I'm hoping that I would propose some sort of custodial sentence to scare them into never doing this again, maybe with adult women. I'm deadly serious. Um, because this disgusts me to the core. Um, and I hate all bullies, but the worst sort of bully is gangs who work as a group to attack an individual. That is just beyond disgusting. Um, and it looks like the rationale they have is just ridiculous. This wasn't even a case that, sometimes you hear of girls in China being attacked because they're accused of sleeping with someone else's boyfriend or something. And this wasn't even anything like that. Not that that's justified either, but this is such a stupid reason. And this poor girl was clearly scared and clearly um, in a bad way. So, I mean, it sounds like the adults involved behaved in a responsible way. The teachers brought her to the hospital, and it's been reported to the police. I really hope the police act on this. I hope they don't just kind of see it as a trivial thing. I hope they act on it. I hope these girls are arrested, and I hope they get a stiff custodial sentence. Failing that, I was thinking a good punishment would be to blow up giant pictures of them. I'm deadly serious here. Blow up giant pictures of them, plaster it around the town or the community with the words "I am a bully" plastered in front of that. I am a bully. I am a card. something like that. I am deadly serious. I'm deadly serious. I'm not calling for any physical violence against them, but I am calling for something that will make them never even contemplate doing this again. Because you have to think, if this is how they act as teenagers, middle school, incidentally, in China, that's the age group I taught. We're talking about 15, 16-year-olds here. So, teenagers. If that's how they're acting at that age, how are they going to, what sort of adults are they going to be? Does make you wonder. So they do need a stiff deterrent. I'm not calling for violence, but I'm calling for a stiff deterrent. Throughout my life, I've always hated bullies. I was badly bullied. I know a lot of people say that, but that's how big a problem it is. There are people who say, just turn the other way or something like that. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. If that's your attitude, then you really don't know anything about bullying. You don't know how these people work. I'm sure this girl tried to avoid the situation. I'm sure she was put in an impossible situation. So, if there's the only thing that disgusts me more or on par with bullies themselves in regards to the subject is people who make excuses for them and people who say, oh, well, she's too weak or something like that. That's rubbish. You know, it, Bullying victims are not weak people. They may be they may be focused on for one reason or another, but calling them weak, I think, is it's kind of like insulting the victim or blaming the victim. There's no excuses. The weak people in this are the bullies, are those 4 or 5 girls who've done this. They are the weak people, very weak. And I hope someone in a position of authority tells them to their face, you're a coward, you're despicable, and what you're doing is unacceptable. So yeah, I do propose a custodial sentence, or at the very least, if that's not possible because they need to be get their education or whatever, there needs to be some sort of punishment here. There has to be, um, and that punishment should come with a very precise warning that if they get revenge on the girl because they're being punished, then the punishment will be doubled. This is the only way that you can deal with bullies. It's the only way. I just don't buy into this argument of the sort of neoliberal argument whereby, oh, you give them a tap on the wrist and you kind of talk to them about their problems. And the worst argument of all that some people try to make is that trying to put the victim and the bullies on the same level, you know, like we can negotiate this. We'll sit round and they can all talk about it. That's insane. That is insane. It's like getting a victim of crime to be on par with the criminal. Um, they are 150% at fault. It doesn't matter what grievance they have with her. It doesn't matter if she was annoying or whatever the excuse is that why they felt the need to do this. The fact of the matter is, there was a group of them and they ganged up on a single girl, and it's disgusting. If I was a teacher in that situation, I would be absolutely livid, and I would, well, as a foreign teacher, it would be quite difficult. But it sounds like the Chinese teachers here. I mean, it sounds like they done the right thing. They brought her to hospital. Um, but I really, really hope there is a severe consequence for these girls. I hope their parents are informed. I hope their parents punish them as well. Um, I don't know if these are examples of the spoiled brat generation, because this is a phenomenon in China, where there are, because of the one-child policy, there is a generation of single children growing up thinking they can do as they please. So it may be a byproduct of that, but I'm not sure if it is because, you get plenty of examples of this in the United States and all over the world. It's a big problem in Japan as well. It's a plague. It really is a plague. And people who think this is a trivial thing or they think that the victim is being too sensitive or something, read the report. Just read it. And then, I've seen people come out with really stupid comments on situations like this. Oh, if it was me, I would fight all of them. No, you wouldn't. No matter how strong you are, you can't take on a gang. Um, Bullies always work in numbers. That's a stupid argument. You can't do that. And it pisses me off when people say things like they should just, ignore them. That you can't ignore bullies because even if you try to, They will find a way to try and get to you. They will find, I hate when people try to put the pressure on the victim and try to make it like it's the victim's fault. That really, really infuriates me. Now, obviously, we have to be specific here. We're not. It's different if we're talking about, two girls that are having a fight, or two boys that are having a fight. Or incidentally, this report also shows something else. It also shows that girls are just as capable of being violent bullies. Sometimes there's an assumption that bullies are male only. Sometimes the worst bullying I've come across, some of the worst bullying I've come across, I should say, has been girl on girl bullying. Um, it's despicable. So really, I'm just having a rant. I'll put a link to this. Um, I'm not saying it's worse in China than anywhere else, although I have heard a number of these cases. I read another report a while back in Guangdong province. There was some girls, again from a middle school, who beat one of their classmates who happened to be pregnant, and they stripped her. And this is a Chinese phenomenon, though. This thing about publicly stripping girls and young women, that does seem to be a problem, and it's despicable. Anyway, I'll leave it there, but I feel very angry. And I also think that, just because they're girls, we shouldn't kind of take a lightly approach. They're bullies. There should be a neutral, egalitarian approach to this. Bullies are bullies. And what's ironic is the photographs. They don't look like hardened thugs. They look like girly girls, for want of a better term. They don't look like, and that's what is so sinister about bullying sometimes. Bullies don't necessarily look like the caricature of what a bully is supposed to look like. These girls look really feminine. They don't look like thugs. But what they're doing to this other girl is disgusting. And they think they're being cool. That's the worst part. The fact that they're trying to humiliate her by videoing it. Well, I hope they're dragged before a court of law. I hope they're blubbering away, feeling sorry for themselves, and I hope they're showing that footage. I'm deadly serious. I really, really fucking hate bullies.